Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And as the days tick down to the World Championship, OpTic Chicago find themselves in an increasingly worrying position. Scump and Envoy still testing positive despite recovering a few days ago, certainly putting their chances of playing at the World Championship in some serious jeopardy. And treat your thoughts in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Really up to the channel, thank you very much indeed for doing that. First of all, as you can see right here, in just a few days time, August the 19th, everything kicks off at Champs. These 8 teams are going to go to battle, and one of them is going to win the first place prize of $1.2 million. It's going to be Atlanta FaZe according to this. Maybe let's try again. It's going to be Atlanta FaZe again. Okay, both times I got FaZe. So no, maybe it's a foregone conclusion. Who really knows? Yesterday also, despite being somewhat a difficult time for OpTic, as we'll look at here in a second, it was also OpTic Day, so the day that OpTic was founded on, I guess like the birthday of OpTic. And what a lovely family, of course, says Scump. But you know, increasingly on the OpTic Chicago side, things, well, they find themselves in somewhat of a difficult spot. This also for Methods. Happy OpTic Day. It was an honor when he was competing on this team alongside Octane, Scump and Crimsix way back in the World War II days. I mean, they were honestly like really, really good at hardpoints. Their hardpoint record was underrated. They were like 22-5 or something like that, if I remember correctly, for stage 2 of the hardpoint, in their hardpoint like records for stage 2 of the CWL that year. But at Champs, obviously things didn't end up too well if you guys have been following the scene for quite a while. But yeah, 12 years ago, Hex took a giant leap of faith, gave himself a chance to achieve the impossible. Happy OpTic Day, all these well, legendary names and faces that have been in the organization over the years. However, going into Champs, they find themselves in somewhat of a difficult situation because, well, Scump and Envoy, their star SMG duo, pretty much irreplaceable, those players, especially with how well Scump and Envoy have been playing as of late. They, of course, find themselves in a very precarious position, given the whole regulations that are currently in effect, and, well, still testing positive on the test, it does appear right now. So, a few days ago, the CODLY come out and say this: yes, despite all the players testing positive, and a fair few players testing positive, apparently, after the Stage 5 Major, there's rumours coming out from, I think, Formal was saying it on the OpTic podcast a few days ago, that it's not just Scump and Envoy that have got this thing, there's other players as well. He reckons they're like maybe 8 players, something in that ballpark, and 3 teams are being affected by this. So yes, on the surface we're hearing about Scump and Envoy and the issues that those guys are having, but these issues could well be reflected within other teams that are also attending Champs. So as you know, we could have these issues being seriously prevalent, which is not what we want to see, right? We want to see every single team attending Champs playing with their roster that they've played with the entire season, they've grinded with the entire season. That's the last thing we want is people have to bring in substitutes, but it's certainly not out of the question right now, and Scump seems pretty concerned about the possibility of that being the case. So as you can see, for attendees, they have to come like, you know, fully vaccinated, a negative PCR antigen test. There's also like a lateral flow test. I really don't know all that much about this, but yeah, some of these you have to get sent off, some of these you can get like a feedback immediately, and I'm not exactly sure what the players have to do, maybe a lateral flow test or something they can get tested as soon as they come into the venue, or something like that. So I guess that the OpTic guys are testing it out, okay, thinking, okay, alright, let's go. We've got a few days time here, let's keep testing these, you know, doing these tests every day, and with any luck, we'll start testing negative sometime soon. But the issue is, even after you've recovered, like, you can still have it going around your system or whatever, like, it might still test positive on the tests, despite you being, you know, perfectly immune or whatever. And that, of course, is a massive concern for some of these players. So this is what Scump says on the 8th of August. I was one of the players that tested positive for COVID after the Major. Felt like I was pretty responsible the whole event. Been pretty sick these last few days, but starting to feel better, focusing on recovery and all this type of good stuff. So, seems like they're back in business, right? They're doing streaming and all this type of stuff. Like, the guys seem to be perfectly okay, but the problem is if you're still testing positive on the tests, then by the rules and regulations, that's not going to be okay to let you get in the venue and compete, right? The question is, I suppose, that let's say you did, okay, they have to sub out on Thursday or something, but they're okay by Friday, then I guess they can come back in, but of course, well, they play on Thursday, so it's not ideal. This is what Scump has to say on stream last night. As Crone says, Scump and Envoy still testing positive. They have until Thursday to test negative. If they don't test negative, Dashy and Formal will have to play with the substitutes from their squads. This is what Scump has to say, and seems to get increasingly worried. He was hoping that, well, by today or like yesterday or whenever this came out, of course, yesterday was, well, he was hoping he would test negative by then, and Envoy as well. Doesn't seem like that's the case, and maybe it's going to take more time.
Another great day of practice in the books. Let's go. Negative COVID test? No, positive. Still positive. Positive, smogitive. Another positive test when I don't even feel sick. This fucking annoying, man. Is Dylan negative? Nah, he's positive too. Both pause. When do we need to get negative by? By Thursday. Yeah, Thursday is our first match, so Thursday would be the first day that we have to be negative or we can't play. What if both positive? We play with substitutes, man. Well, Matt and Brandon play with substitutes, but yeah. a little bit shook. I mean, we're definitely starting to get a little bit worried. We were expecting to start testing negative by like today, tomorrow. So a positive test today is definitely not good for our mental state. Now it's starting to get to like, oh.
So when we were talking about this with EasyMac the other day on the Breaking Boy podcast, he said it can be like in the 10-day ballpark from when you fully recover to when you start testing negative, which is obviously a massive concern. Hopefully it's a lot sooner than that. As Scump says, yeah, he was hoping to test negative like yesterday or maybe today, and if that doesn't happen, then all of a sudden it is in serious risk of something serious going on, because of course they've got to fly out to the venue, and if they're still testing negative, like how they're going to get there, maybe they're going to drive or something. I don't really know what the protocols are, but yes, obviously we don't want to see OpTic or any of these teams, right? Because Formal said that other teams potentially are being affected by this as well, but we're only hearing about the OpTic stuff on the surface, that substitutes may have to come into play. So General and Sender are technically, I guess General's technically the only sub, but I think they'll have to do something else, right, and probably bring in Sender, their coach, if they had to make a change. Now, as I say, it's not out of the realms of possibility that they can't play on the Thursday for whatever reason, or well, for this reason, obviously, but then by Friday they're okay again, and therefore they could then sub back in. Obviously, like, this is just not the situation we want to find ourselves in, but what can the CDL realistically do? Those are the protocols in place. I imagine those are also the venue protocols in place that they have. Okay, yeah, if anyone tests positive, they can't compete. That's probably how the venue has it set up, as well as the CDL regulations and what they have to do from a legal perspective, and all this type of complications as well. But also, they can't just move the venue, right? They can't just say, okay, shut up shop, let's postpone it for another week, because the venue's going to be booked out for the next week, right? And they've booked it for this weekend probably months in advance. They don't necessarily want to cancel the thing because the OpTic guys can't play when it's the same situation for everyone. So hopefully everything is okay. I don't exactly know what they're going to do, because I see Envoy right here is trying his hardest to try and test negative. I don't exactly know how this is going to happen, but you can see here on his story, burning an orange to try and get my taste back. I will do whatever it takes. So Envoy seemingly in a similar boat, and I don't really know what tips and tricks are going to work to try and get you recovered from this or get you testing negative on the test or whatever. There's probably some secret sources you could go for, but you don't necessarily want to be faking these tests when you get to the venue. I don't really know how that would even be possible to achieve regardless, if you wanted to try and make it happen. And well, let's talk briefly about their substitutes, right, which they have now potentially coming into the team if necessary. So General, of course, has been a very solid player for many years. The problem is really that General is a main assault rifle type player. Dashy, and you can't really replace your SMG duo. That's the hardest thing to possibly do. If Scump and Envoy were there still, and it was the other guys that were having difficulties, you maybe could replace them to decent effect. But doing it here is just really not going to happen. I mean, a General's, I guess, going to have to use an SMG. Maybe Dashy will go onto an SMG if it has to happen. It's tough to say. Hopefully it's not the case, right? But as the days tick down, it's becoming increasingly likely, right, by the hour, by the day, that this could be the case. At least maybe one of these guys has to step in. So General is a possibility. He's a solid player. He did actually come in last year to their team when Gunless was getting removed. So General kind of stepped in for a few days before they then got Prestinni came into the squad last year on the Chicago Huntsmen. You've also got Sender as well. I thought I'd bring this up because Sender was a former pro player, if you guys aren't aware of his career. He had some decent results back in Advanced Warfare. The memorable one to me was the Stage 2 playoffs on Dream Team with Diabolic, Sender, Chino and Killer, where they came second, I'm pretty sure, to Team Envy at that event after making a pretty impressive run through the single elimination best of 7 bracket. So Sender was a solid player, never with incredible results or anything, and of course retired not too long ago and became a coach of the Huntsmen and then OpTic Chicago this past season, but is not exactly the ideal candidate you'd want to sub into your roster if you have to. So obviously a big concern. This I thought was kind of funny, like, Champs jersey just got leaked, try and find a way to get Scump up on main stage, even if it means him wearing a hazmat suit or something, if that gets around the regulations. I don't really know. But this, of course, is the concern, right, when you see the playoff schedule for day one. Action starts on August the 19th, of course, and OpTic subliners play second up. So sometimes so far this season, we can see for FaZe, for example, because they have to buy in the winners bracket, it means that they find themselves in a pretty comfortable spot where they don't actually have to play on the Thursday. So let's say, they have an extra day if their players were testing positive or something, just start testing negative on these tests, even if they're perfectly fine and okay, then OpTic versus subliners are playing on that Thursday. So, and of course this is a massive match, right? If you lose this game, then all of a sudden you're down in lower bracket there, you're playing Mutineers, you're then going to have to fight your way through, and it's going to be so tough to win all the way through lower brackets. I think you probably have to win like 5 series in a row or something against some really tough competition to make it happen. So, obviously we hope that nothing happens for these first couple of matches. And what I just realised, actually, even though I might not have said this earlier, I was thinking that if you lose in the winners bracket, you'll go down to losers and play the next day. That's actually not the case. You'll play still on the final match, right? So if OpTic lose here, they'll still play Mutineers on the final final game of the day. So there's not the opportunity to like come back into the team on a Friday or something. If that team of 4, like if they do have to sub someone out and it somehow survives a couple of these matches and still moves on in the tournaments, then they might be able to come back in for the rest of the weekend. But hopefully that's not even a concern that we have to be dealing with over the coming days. And Muddy Bows could be a target to bring into the squad. This is a classic video that had Chat brought out. Manilia, well, taking off Big Timer's head, to be honest, with this axe on what he's playing out right here, to be honest. But I guess it was a pretty good throw at the end of the day. But yeah, so Bows was he's had to sub in a couple of times before in his Call of Duty career. Maybe it's something that could well happen again. But well, I don't think he's technically signed to do so this time around. I just wanted to finish off with this, really, some interesting statistics from Simp going into the major, going into the World Championship, of course. Thought this was remarkable. Like, everyone's been talking about the MVP of the season. Who's it going to be? Like, Cammy maybe deserves it. aBeZy maybe deserves it. But Simp, statistically, the last couple of years has been absolutely spectacular. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he does on a regular basis. Like, he has a 1.17 KD this season, a 1.18 in the respawns. Just absolutely ridiculous. And there's one clip I just wanted to share to finish off the video for you guys, which is what Simp considers to be his best clutch moment throughout his career, which is well, his 1 versus 3 on Arsenal. You guys remember with the pistol around that kind of, I don't know exactly what they called it at the end of the day. It's got the lightning strike thing on the top of it. And well, Simp was just ridiculous with the Paladin. But even if he had to pull out the Strife or whatever it was called, the pistol, then well, he would still absolutely decimate you as he does to FaZe Clan right here. But intrigued to get your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, I'd greatly appreciate a like on the video. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. I know you enjoyed this content. Other people like you may enjoy this content as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.
What is your best clutch moment since you become a pro?
Again, during the BO4 season, and that was when I had my sniper and pistol on 1v3 them around the jet. And
a 3v2. Reinforcements have arrived. And it's in the form of Simp and his Paladin. Great awareness as his teammates gets dropped. That's a big shot. That's a nice kill. It's a 2v1 right now. Oh boy! It's a 1v1. Can he find something absolutely outstanding here? Going for the hunt. It is going to be 0-0. Now picks up the bomb. It's a one-on-one with Simp. And Simp